Hey guys, this is Jenny with Esther's Nest. You are here because you are a subscriber to the Nesting Box, our monthly DIY subscription box. Each and every month you will receive a kit that you can craft at home with tutorial help from me to create your beautiful project that you can put in your house or gift to someone. The June nesting box consisted of this project right here. This is our lemon shake-up cutting board, decorative piece for your kitchen. This is strictly decorative. This is 1/4 inch birch, not a real cutting board, paired with our Hello Summer and the little lemon slice leaner. These two pieces together consisted of your June nesting box. I'm here to do the tutorial and show you a few of the techniques that were a part of this nesting box. One is how to paint your wooden beads. I'm going to show you that today. Another was how to use the chip brush you received in your nesting kit to get that distressed finish over the yellow that you see under your lemons. And then also how to use a sponge to do this little bit of fun highlight of the white on the bottom of the word summer. In the interest of time, I have gone ahead and started the project by base coating our cutting board in white. This project you used two of the colors that you already have as a part of your staples in your kits, your white and your black. And then I sent you packets of yellow that you would need for the project. So I've gone ahead and base coated the cutting board in white, and then I base coated the Hello Summer backer in black. It's kind of hard to see right here, but your letters are scored into the backer, so it's going to make it very easy to place your pieces on there. So we've got the base coating done, and so now what I'm going to do is move forward with this project and kind of show you how to do some of the special techniques. I've already put, actually no, we're going to talk about those in just a second. Let's first start with our beads, because what I want to do is get our beads done as quickly as possible so that they have a little bit of time to dry, and then I will show you how to thread them on your tassel, which I forgot to bring a tassel in here, so I'm going to have to leave and go grab one in a minute. But I'll show you how to thread them on your tassel and then hook it on the top of your sign. So this is the easiest way to paint beads. There's many different ways out there. But this is how I'm going to teach you to do them, and I feel like this is absolutely the quickest, easiest way. In your little bead kit, you're going to have 5 beads, and then you will have a toothpick. Actually, hang tight for just a second. I think I missed a piece in the other room. Sorry, guys. Is it ever really a video with me if I don't forget something? So there's our tassel that we're going to need to be able to do this. And then let's get our beads set up. Okay, so let's open up. Here's your bag of beads. Let's move our tassel off to the side for now. We don't need that yet. So you got your beads. We've got our little pouch of yellow paint. A lot of times I'll send these paint pouches whenever we have a color that is not going to be something I'm going to send you a large bottle of, because we might only use it once or twice. So these are really easy to use. They're easy to ship with. It's a one-time use. So what you're going to do when you get these is just kind of move that paint. You'll see where the little notches are at the top. That's where you rip them open. Move that paint down just a little bit. Oh, you also have a toothpick. And then you're going to go ahead and rip your bag open. Just discard that. I actually like to take the beads out, put the paint in, and then put the beads back in. I am just going to squeeze all that yellow paint into this little baggie. Now, you do not have to put any water in with your paint. The paint is fine. But I like my beads to have just a slight bit of a distressed look. So, if you have a straw, if you have a paintbrush, if you have anything, you don't want much water, but I'm just going to take one of these foam brushes and dip it in and get some water, and then I'm going to kind of push it into my paint. And you might have to squeeze it just a little bit. So you see that there's just a few drops of water. You can probably see the droplets on here. Okay, just put a few drops of water in there. And now I will seal this up and I will mix that water in. And it's just going to loosen up that paint a little bit. If you decide you want more water, you can always add more water in. A few more drops in there. Okay, take your beads, drop them in. Close your baggie really well, otherwise this could be a horrible mess. Start rolling it in your hands. Rolling it in your hands is going to make sure that those beads get fully covered. If you just shake them, they might not get covered everywhere. See how that paint spreads out? Those 5 beads are in there. You're just rolling them around. Go ahead and open your bag up. This is, you can see our beads are in there. All right, take your toothpick, fish your beads out one at a time, put them on your paper plate. They do have a lot of extra paint on them right now. We're going to help take care of that by rolling them on the paper plate. Okay, so we've got those all out. Now what I would do is just stick your toothpick in there, zip your baggie up, and you can just toss that right in the trash. You're done with that. This is a method that you can use to paint wood beads if you want to make your own bead garland. There's no problem. You can easily do this. Pick up any type of water-based paint. Acrylic household doesn't really matter. Get your baggie. I like to thin that paint out just a little bit when I do it. Grab your wood beads on Amazon. There's various different sizes. These are 20 millimeter beads. And then there's also 16. Actually, I have a 16 over here. So let me show you. That's a 20 that we painted. And that's a 16 right next to it. They're just a little bit smaller. They look great in wood garlands too. You just use a few more of them. And then you can also mix and match. You can do a 20, a 16. There are even larger ones that you can put in there. So, okay, now that we've got them on our paper plate, we are going to come back to this while we're working on all the other projects. Shake them around a little bit. Oh, they already started to dry just a little bit while I was yakking, so you might have to hit them with your finger to get them moving. That's what we don't want, is them drying on there in one spot. So, as you see, as we shake them around, it kind of pulls a lot of that excess paint off. If you get one like that that just sticks, hit it with your finger just a little bit and keep shaking it. So it's going to take a little bit for these beads to dry. So while we're working on the rest of our project, we're going to come back every few minutes and we're going to shake our beads just a little bit like this. That way, nothing is drying with big goopy globs of paint on it. They're continuously moving around. It's kind of helping to get that paint distributed evenly through there and on my fingernails. And our goal is, by the time we finish the rest of the project, that the beads are pretty dry. So, let's set those off to the side for now. I have already gone ahead and loaded all of my little pieces for my Hello Summer onto this project board. You know what I just realized, guys? I forgot to cut the stencil for the lemonade shake-up on here. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, the words for this lemon shake-up, That's a stencil. We have stencil painted in here several times. There's multiple other videos showing you how to remove the stencil, how to place it on the board, how to paint on the stencil paint. So obviously I didn't cut that stencil before I came in here today, and I'm not going to be able to put that on there. But I think you guys shouldn't have any problem. Your written instructions are there too. So we'll put the rest of the whole kit together. And if you have any questions, you can message me and I can refilm that, but I also can link you up to other videos with the stencil. I'm sorry. This day is crazy. I'm filming multiple tutorials and I just didn't think about the fact that I didn't have that on there. So we'll be able to do everything else though. Okay, so just like that, it's just been a few minutes. Grab your plate, move it around, set it off to the side. Okay, so what we're going to focus on right now is we are going to paint the 3D pieces that go on this Hello Summer piece, as well as the little lemon that goes on the bottom of your cutting board. And hopefully I didn't forget anything else, guys. So we're going to start with the yellow paint that we need for the base of the lemons as well as summer. I went ahead and sent you a second yellow packet for that. Grab a piece of aluminum foil, a paper plate, newspaper, something so that you can put some paint on that and then be able to dip your sponge in it and offload if you need to. These little pouches probably have more paint in them than you need, but it's a better option for me than any of those other containers that we've tried in the past. So I'm going to keep using these little heat sealed containers as long as they work. It's nice that they do not leak or explode in the mail. I think I've had one this whole entire time. Someone has contacted me and said that it exploded. And it was probably my fault because I probably had it just a little bit too full. So, okay, you guys know how to sponge paint. And so that's what we're doing right now. We're just loading our sponge with the yellow paint. We're offloading and we're coating all of this strip with these letters. I had already pre-put my letters based on the color on the masking tape. You guys have seen me do that before. Just means that I can paint all these little letters without getting as much paint all over my hands and without the letters flying all over. The wood is definitely soaking up the paint today, so you can probably do your first coat as long as you do it light enough, and by the time that you finish, you'll be able to go back over it with your second coat. We will do a light sanding after this dries, because this, the wood today, the laser wood, it definitely has some of that wood hair on it, as I like to call it. And so I just want to lightly sand that after it dries. Okay, we've put our yellow on. Now let's swap that out and hop on over here to our white. You will use your bottle of white paint that came with your kit a few months ago. Remember, let me know when anything that I send you in these bottles, I think so far you've gotten white, black, and navy blue, and then also a bottle of wood glue. Let me know whenever those are running empty, and I will ship you out a new bottle with your next kit. And that way you always have those staple colors there. So we're going to use another sponge and our white paint to go over the top of our lemon slice. Remember, when you paint these, it's all about making sure that you don't have too much paint on your sponge, you're not pressing too hard, and getting that white paint all down the sides of your laser pieces. Layer thin coats, and you can always go back over with more paint as you need it. I'm really working on speeding up these monthly tutorials because in general, anytime I sit down to do a paint tutorial, if I start at the very beginning and go through it, it's always at least an hour. And I know that there's a lot of you who don't need to watch all the steps from the beginning. So I am starting on the nesting box pieces to pre-paint my backers. You guys all know how to do that. And then sometimes when I'm teaching new techniques, like some of these letters might even be pre-painted because I know you know how to do that, and then I just jump in with some of the techniques that we're learning. So definitely give me some feedback on what you guys think about that. If you miss the really long video where I start from the beginning and go all out, let me know. If this is a better way for you, let me know that as well. And, okay, our wood beads, they are definitely starting to dry. We're just shaking them a little bit more. All right, now we're going to go back to this yellow piece. You guys have a piece of 220 sandpaper that I sent you in a kit. When that sandpaper gets dull, go ahead and let me know, and I'll send you another little square of it. It's the exact same top as what my sanding block is. I just sand every day, so I have one of these little sponges. But what you want to use is 220 on this, and just kind of lightly go over the dried painted areas. All this does is just, it's not going to take off the color. Try to stay with the grain. It's not going to take off your color. It's just going to pull those, I call them hairs. It's just going to pull the little pieces of wood off the top. I don't know what else to call them. They just kind of come across like little fine hairs and just give you a really smooth surface. So now after you do that, this is your time to look at it and think, do I need one more coat? My yellow is looking pretty good. I don't think I need another coat. So I'm going to set that off to the side, and we will work on the highlighting on that after we finish the rest of these. So one coat of white is on. These have a lot of the little wood hairs on them too, so let's run our 220 sandpaper across them. It's hard sometimes to figure out what way the grain is with these pieces, but just try. And you're just knocking off that little hair. And then clear off your space. And now we're going to go back and put one more coat of white on top of these. Again, a little bit of white paint on your sponge, very little pressure. It's a lot easier to make a mistake and get white paint on the edge of little laser cuts like this. And it's not as easy to clean it up with a baby wipe. Now, if you get it on there, is it something to worry about? No. Because quite frankly, nobody's going to be looking at your edges but you. But if you can prevent having messy edges, that's of course going to be the preference. Okay, so now we've got our white on there, and we're going to set that off to the side and let that dry. While we have our white out, I'm going to show you a couple of different shading techniques. Okay, on this piece, I did a very, very thin highlight coat, and I don't know if I pull it up close. Yeah, there you can see it. All around the edge of this piece. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can do that. That just gives your piece a little bit more dimension. If you are a crafter and you craft regularly, sorry you're seeing my fat arm in the camera view while I grab a tool. If you can find these Martha Stewart paint daubers, grab a set of them, because these are great for highlighting around the edges of your pieces very specifically. If you can't find these, you can absolutely use the sponge that I sent along with you. You're just going to be like kind of holding it in an angle and moving it just a little bit slower, because these aren't quite as dense as these are, but it can be done, no problem. So I'm going to first show you how to use the sponge, because that may be what you have on hand, and then I will also show you on another piece using these in case you decide to purchase these. Okay, on the sponge. So what we're going to do here is we really only want to get paint on like one edge of the sponge, and you don't want very much. So you're going to kind of take your paint and just offload. Okay? All you're really trying to do is get the very edge of your piece very lightly with white paint. So try to hold it at an angle and try not to touch too far into the piece. And you're just going to real lightly, can you see that? Real lightly dab across. Now, don't worry about going up into these grooves. We're not trying to give the piece a border. We're just trying to give it just a little bit of a highlight on the bottom. Well, we're going to go all the way around it actually. That will help the piece to stand out just a little bit. So I hope, yeah, I can see that in the camera. I hope you can see that and how it just really gives it just a little bit of dimension. So go ahead and turn your piece as you need to. Again, we're not looking to get in every corner and crevice. We're just looking for those edges that are readily available as we kind of lightly spread it out. Now these sponges that we use to stencil paint and to paint the 3D pieces, these work great for this if you learn to have a very light controlled hand with this. If you go in and try to paint with and try to highlight like this with these as if you were painting the actual pieces, you're going to be way too heavy. So this is something that takes practice. One great way to practice is to take your piece, flip it over on the other side, and practice there. And that way you get your practice in, you kind of learn what rhythm you need to have with your hand, and then by the time you're on the front side of your piece, you're feeling just a little bit more comfortable with it. Okay. And I find that it's a lot easier to turn my piece than to turn the sponge, if that makes sense. So, okay. I am really loving this. I love that it's a little bit heavier right through there. I want to actually go a little bit heavier up here to kind of match those other corners. And you can play with this. I mean, you really could go as heavy as you wanted, guys. See how light I'm pressing on that, but look at all the dimension that it's giving us. And when the whole piece comes together, I think you're going to be like, wow. That looks really good. Okay, so we put the white on the black. Now, let's pull back out our yellow. We're going to focus solely on the word summer right now. We're not going to worry about these lemon pieces because I have something totally different that we're going to do with those. Do you see, there you can kind of see it like that, how we've just hit the white on the bottom of the summer pieces. It's the same highlighting technique, but we went a little darker at the bottom and a little lighter going up into it. It kind of gave it a little bit of an ombre feel, but very low, not like halfway through the piece, like what you would find in ombre. So again, you can practice on the backside, but to achieve this, you're going to start by doing the exact same method that you did with this. I'm going to start by touching it on there and seeing, do I have enough paint? Do I need more paint? I have enough paint still on here. I don't even need to load more paint. And guys, this is still the white paint from when we did these letters. I have not loaded it since then. So I'm just going through here, dabbing that on. But this time I'm allowing it to go up a little bit further. And I'm kind of doing this turn of my hand while I do it, which is just letting it like kind of go up the letter just a little bit more. Now, I want it a little bit heavier than that. So I'm going to try again, but I'm going to let it go up a little bit more, okay? Ooh, yeah, that's the sweet spot right there. Okay, what do you guys think? I love that. And that on top of this black, look at how well that lets our letters, or that helps our letters to stand out, guys. So much better than just yellow on that black would be. And it just gives your piece so much more dimension. Okay, so we actually already have these pieces, that piece is done and our back piece is done, so let's just go ahead and glue that on. I know I've mentioned to you guys before, so with your kits, you do get wood glue. Mine is kind of running low and what's in there is a little dried right now. You let me know when you need more wood glue, but sometimes I have people ask me about the glue that I use because I'm doing this all day long every day. I use this Stick Fast glue. This is available on Amazon. It's about $14 a bottle, but a bottle will last you forever. And as long as you're really good about putting the lid back on it all the time, I mean, you're probably talking a year of projects. Make sure though, if you get it, to get the thick, because the thin is not good. So this is what I'm going to be using today. I have a bottle opened already. And that's just because, again, this is what I use all day, every day. But super glue, wood glue, all of these things will work. You don't need very much. Sorry, I always forget when my hands are out of the view of the camera. Just put a little bit of glue on there. Doesn't even need to be over the whole letter, just enough at the top and the bottom. And then your score marks on your piece are going to let you put it right in the perfect spot. When you have a big long word like this that's all attached together, just hit a few of the high and low points of it. You don't have to hit every point, and it's going to stick perfect. Again, use those score marks to just attach it in, press it down. We've got half of our piece done. We're going to set that over to the side. Okay, now let's take a look at these lemons. I wanted to show you guys how, in your kit, you received a chip brush. Let me grab one so I can show you what it looks like. This is a chip brush. I wanted to grab my used one so I'm not using a brand new one. Okay, so in your kit, you received a chip brush. This is something that you will not throw away. You will keep it month to month, and you'll be able to use this on any projects in the future. It has this little plastic thing on it. You'll pull it off. That's just holding your brush bristles together. Once you've used it for a while, this is what your chip brush will look like. Crazy, like wild minion hair. And that's kind of how I want my chip brush to look, because that gives me a really, I guess I want to say, uneven look as I'm brushing this over. When you chip brush, essentially what you're doing is a dry brushing technique. But the chip brush is just naturally wild haired, and so it makes it a little bit easier. I'm trying to see if I can get this in focus so you can see it. It's really hard, but the back, the yellow base of our lemon, I dry brushed over top of the entire piece. And so that is what I'm going to teach you how to do on this one. So if you're dry brushing with a chip brush, which is what I usually do, or if you're dry brushing with a regular paintbrush, you want to make sure that your bristles are very free moving. So nothing like, if it's a brush you've washed before, you want to make sure it's super dry, and then just kind of move it against your hand. Loosen those bristles up, get them, where they're not stiff, because you want it to be able to move freely on your piece. The next tip that I have for you on dry brushing is the smallest amount of paint possible on your brush. Absolute smallest. It's always easier to add more later than to take away. So I'm going to take the tip of my chip brush, and I'm going to put it just the edges into that white paint. Okay, do you see this? That's like the smallest amount of white paint. Still way too much for what I need here. Way too much. So I'm going to come over here on my paper and I'm going to brush that white. See how much white's coming off of there? Now, I may have taken too much off. We won't know until we start brushing it across the piece, but you can always add more later. What you want to do is you want to go with the grain, start at the edge, and brush across the piece. And you can do it, yeah, I definitely took too much paint off. Okay, let's try this. There we go. It's always going to pick up a little bit heavier on your edges. And you will learn very quickly what your sweet spot with the way you like your dry brushing to look is. Some people like a very heavy dry brush. Some people like a very subtle dry brush. Sorry, I hope my hand is not in your way. I'm kind of in the middle ground. I don't want it too heavy. I don't want it too light. I want to be able to see that I've added that layer of dimension to the piece. So you can probably see now, this is just the yellow. This is the yellow with the dry brushing. Let me see if I can zoom in and keep it in focus. Oh, I don't know if that's going to focus or not. It's not really focusing very good, is it? Okay. I'll try to pull it up to the camera for you here in just a minute. Okay. Okay. So now, there we go. Can you see a little bit better what I did there? I'm just really adding that white in there. Just giving the piece another layer so it's not just flat yellow paint. I'm going to do that with my other lemon base as well. My wood grain on this one is kind of sideways, and that may just be like I might have cut this lemon out of a piece of scrap wood and it went sideways. Ooh, that one got heavy and I like it. Sometimes you don't know what you like until you get it on there, but I really love adding that extra. Man, these lights make it so hard, you guys. I really like adding that extra layer of paint on there. Okay, now, if you want to go a little bit heavier on your edges, you can absolutely do the same technique that we did on these, where you just kind of highlight those edges a little bit. It's all just in what you like. You don't have to do it if that's not your jam, if you feel like the dry brushing gave you enough. It's hard to see, but it definitely does make it stand out a little bit more. Someday I'm going to figure out like the perfect camera. Oh, that one was really heavy on the side. I don't know, I think we might like it. To show all of the paint techniques where you can see it really well. Okay, now that one is definitely heavier. But I think I like it. If you didn't like that and you wanted to go back, just take your yellow sponge and just sponge some yellow over the top. And you're going to go back in and correct that, no problem. Okay, now we're going to glue the white top layer. Oh, let's shake our beads one more time. I think they're pretty much dry, but okay, this one right here has a little paint bubble in there. Can you see that? I already threw the toothpick away, so I'm just going to use whatever I have handy, whether it's an ink pen or another toothpick or whatever, and I'm just going to pop that bubble. That was a lot of paint in there. And just kind of pull some of that extra paint out. Because otherwise when we feed our twine through there, it would get the twine all painted. Now sometimes you're still going to get a little bit on there, but popping that paint bubble helps a lot. Okay, so now we'll just glue the tops onto our lemons. Oh, wrong one, Jenny. That one's not cut open yet. Don't feel like you need to get glue on every part. Just hit those top and bottom points. Glue them onto your lemons. Okay, one of these lemons is going to go, see that here, down in the bottom corner of your lemon shake up cutting board. The other one is going to go on your Hello Summer leaner. This is the perfect size that you can lean it up against something, or you can pair it and put it in a tier tray set as well. We're just going to glue that lemon down. There's score marks up here in the corner so you know exactly where to place it. And we can go ahead and glue on our hello letters. And then we will have that piece done. I forget that you can't see my hands when I'm holding them back, guys, sorry. Now, if you do buy this stick fast glue, let me tell you that less is more. That piece right there got a whole lot of glue on it. You want little tiny amounts of glue, and you want to really try to avoid your fingers because the name doesn't lie. It does stick very fast, and when it is stuck on your fingers, the only way that I have been able to get the dried glue off is to use a pumice stone. Like what you would use on your feet? Yeah. I keep one in my shower all the time because when you're painting, a lot of times you will get paint on your hands, and once it's dry, it's hard to get off. So usually my nightly routine in the shower is a whole lot of scrubbing my hands with pumice stone, hence why I go get manicures like every 2 weeks. But it is absolutely the only thing that I have found that will get this dried glue off your hands. So when you work with that glue, you have to work very quickly and light amounts of glue. Okay, so this piece is finished, and all we have left to do on this one, because I told you I forgot to cut the stencil for that. You guys have seen me stencil paint before though. So all we're gonna do left on this one is I'm gonna teach you how to make this wood bead tassel. And then we will be done with this project. So we're gonna set our Hello Summer signs off to the side. Go ahead and you're done with your glue. So go ahead and clean up your glue. You can toss your paint at this point. You don't need any more paint. Your chip brush. Make sure that you go ahead and put your chip brush in some water and then wash with soap and water to get all that paint out of the ends of it. You don't want to leave that in there or your brush is not going to work great when you're done. I'm just going to fold this over and get rid of it. Don't forget that you can clip off the used ends of your sponges and save them to use again later, so you can clip off the painted edges. Okay, so now we're going to put this tassel together. Now, I have a little bit of a confession. I really stink at making my own jute tassels. So you will find as a small business owner that there are things that you are willing to pay others to do. And I have a person that I pay to make all of my tassels because I get frustrated. I hate working with them and I use them a lot. So all these tassels, that's why they're coming pre-made for you, and I'm not teaching you how to make one because, quite frankly, I hate making them and I'm miserable at it. If you want to learn how to make one of these, just YouTube how to make a tassel and it's going to show you, and probably 99% of you will be better than me immediately at making them. But what I do is I pay her to make me the tassel with extra long jute strings, and that way I can just feed my beads right onto the edge of the extra long strings, teach you how to tie them off, and we're on the road rolling. So first thing you're going to do is get all the way to the end of your strings. If your strings are uneven or frayed in any way, I want you to go ahead and clip those to where they're a fresh cut, not frayed, and the same length. Now, this is the only part of this that's going to be slightly challenging. You have to feed both pieces of your jute through the wood beads. These are 20 millimeter beads, so they're easier than the small ones, but sometimes that wood in there will still get caught, and you see how it frays those ends? This is why we make these ends extra long, because you may have to trim off an end every time you put it in, depending on how bad it frays the twine or the jute. It's kind of the same thing. Okay, that one didn't fray at all, so we're good. We're just feeding these on here. If you had a large knitting needle, see, okay, do you see where we got a little bit of yellow paint? That was that one that had paint on the inside. Take a napkin or whatever and kind of wipe that paint off. And then you'll be good to just keep, or you can cut it off. You have more than enough string. Keep loading those on there. Okay, so here are my yellow beads. Now, before I attach these to our cutting board, I'm going to show you one other little trick that you can use that chip brush for. On these beads, can I get it to focus? I decided to do some dry brushing of the white on these. Man, you really cannot get it in focus very well. I think I need a black background. But you can kind of see that I did some dry brushing on the white beads. Okay, the way you're going to do that, you've got them fed onto your string here, and you've got your white brush. Oh, I did throw away my paint, didn't I? Let's see if I can get just a little bit of white paint out of the trash, because I don't want to have to re-get all that out again. So just a little bit of white paint on your brush, okay? And just kind of real lightly drag it on your beads. And you can keep rolling them. You can add as much white as you want. You can go heavy or light. All you're really doing is just trying to make sure that it's not uniform, okay? You don't want it to be uniform at all. Just adds a little bit more dimension to your beads. Okay. There we go. All right, now, this is what we're going for. And you can see that all we did was just tie that onto the top. So I'm going to lay my one on here. You can tie this on however you want. I like to kind of circle it through the hole a couple of times so that I have a little bit more than just one string hanging at the top, if that makes sense. Just got to kind of hold on as you feed that through. Okay, and you can have your beads hang as high or as low as you want. That doesn't really matter. What I'm going to do now, you could do this a couple different ways. You can tie it off in the back where it will hang like this. Or if you have a glue gun at home, you can just glue it. I'm just going to tie a little knot right in this. Okay, see that? I'm just tying that knot there. And this is why I have her leave those strings so extra long, because you have all kinds of room to move. And then once your knot's on there, clip that off. And then you can position your beads however you want. Okay. So this is our project today, guys. We did our lemon shake up cutting board. And we did our little Hello Summer. Is that gonna focus? There we go. Our Hello Summer leaner, and we learned a couple of shading tips and tricks, and you learned how to dry brush with a chip brush. Remember to keep this, and you'll be able to use that on all kinds of projects in the future. Thank you guys for joining me today. Once you finish this project, I would love you to take a picture and share it on the page. We will be reopening the nesting box for new subscribers in August. And if any of you are willing to write a testimonial for me on your experience with the nesting box, I would love to feature you on the page as we start marketing to new subscribers. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.